Hello, it is May 23rd, 2025, and it's time for the weekly word. And the weekly word is memorial. Our key verses are Joshua chapter 4, verses 6 to 7. Reading out the Amplified Bible today, it says, that this may be a sign among you when your children ask in time to come, what do these stones mean to you? That you shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord when it passed over the Jordan. The waters of the Jordan were cut off, so these stones shall be to the Israelites a memorial forever. So the definition of a memorial is a remembrance. And both of these words come from the same root word as memory. And a memorial, it can be a day, it can be a time, it can very often be a place. So in Joshua 4:21 to 24, it goes on to say, and he said to the Israelites, when your children ask their fathers in time to come, what do these stones mean? They crossed the Jordan on dry land and they took stones out of the river and set up a memorial. Verse 22, you shall let your children know Israel came over this Jordan on dry ground. For the Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan for you until you passed over, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up for us until we passed over. The same thing that God had done for the fathers, he did for the children. Verse 24, that all the peoples of the earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty, and that you may reverence and fear the Lord your God forever. So there's three significant things found about memorial in these verses. Number one, it was a memorial for them themselves. Number two, it was a memorial for their descendants, for their children. Let your children know, retell the story again and again. The same thing God did for your fathers, he'll do for you. And then the third big part of this memorial is that it was a memorial for all the peoples of the earth, that they would hear and honor and reverence and respect the Lord. So my big question for you this week is, what and where are your memorials? So this weekend is Memorial Day in America. It's the weekend where we remember our soldiers, especially those who've sacrificed their lives for our freedom. And Darlene and I, we just returned from Nepal. We're heading to the Philippines next month, but this weekend we're up in northern Michigan at our family cabin. My grandparents, the original Bob McCoy, my grandpa, bought this little cabin and property, him and my grandma, back in the 1960s. And they left it to my dad. And for longer than I've been alive, it's been a place of family gatherings, gathering for deer hunting, gathering for Thanksgiving. When I was a little kid, we used to come up here. It's a place of retelling stories, a lot of fishing stories, a lot of deer hunting stories, but all kinds of family stories. And 30 years ago, Darlene and I started coming up here for Memorial Day weekend with Bobby when he was just born. And then 2 years later with Grace when she was born. And we came for campfires and fishing and time together. And we've come every year. And whatever family members can make it, we celebrate Memorial Day to have time with family, to tell stories, and to remember the faithfulness and the goodness of God. So again, we're talking about a memorial. And when we do this, it's a memorial for us personally. It's a memorial for our children and our family. It's something that we tell stories about and show pictures to people all over the world as a testimony and a memorial of God's goodness. Hey, this is biblical. And so our big question is, what and where are your memorials? When I say that it's biblical, let's look at another memorial place, and that was in the life of Abraham. Genesis 21:31, we're introduced to this place. It says, therefore at that place was called Beersheba, the well of the oath, because there both parties swore an oath. We're introduced to this place called Beersheba in the Bible, where Abraham made a peace treaty. It goes on in verse 33, Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba and called there on the name of the Lord, the eternal God. Abraham, this significant place, he planted a tree as a memorial. It's a memorial to the goodness of God. This is amazing to me because the trees you see behind me, the pine trees, the apple trees in this place, they're trees that my family planted. And yeah, they didn't plant them specifically as a memorial to God, but the point is this place for me is a place of memorial. Genesis 21:33, Abraham plants this tree as a memorial. Genesis 22:18 and 19, right after Abraham meets with God on Mount Moriah and God provides a lamb and God reaffirms his covenant, we see in verse 18, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, and by him bless themselves, because you have heard and obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned to his servants, and they rose up and went with him to Beersheba, and there Abraham lived. So for part of Abraham's life, he lived at this place. He went back to that place. He went back to the place of remembrance and spent time there. Well, then in Genesis 26, jumping ahead chapters, we see Isaac, Abraham's son. It says he went up from there to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you. I will favor you with blessings. I will multiply your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham. And Isaac built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord and pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants were digging a well. So this place of memorial, this place Beersheba, not only for Abraham, but for his son Isaac, it was a place of covenant. It was a place of water, which speaks of life, and a place of altar, which means worship. It didn't stop with his son Isaac, but we go to Genesis 46, again in the Amplified Version. Genesis 46:1. So Israel, talking about Jacob here, Abraham's grandson, made his journey with all that he had and came to Beersheba. And I love what the Amplified says here. It says, a place hallowed by sacred memories. There's the memorial. And he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. We see that where Abraham made it a point to establish a memorial to God, that his children and his grandchildren were also impacted. They not only visited, but they had encounters with God themselves. Their parents' memorial became their own. Abraham's memorial was a memorial for him, for his descendants, a memorial for all the people of the earth. And Abraham had many places like this where God met him, where he built an altar as a memorial, and his descendants retell those stories to this day. So again, my big question this week is, what and where are your memorials? Whether you have a memorial that spans generations, like I am blessed to have, or whether you have none at all, one of the wonderful things about life is that we can start today. We can start recognizing significant events and gatherings. We can start planning something meaningful. We can never stop revisiting and retelling the stories of God's faithfulness and goodness, especially in your own family. So, hey, God bless you. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Have a wonderful week.